conversations. We've learned a lot, and I hope to continue to hold these check-ins at least yearly, and appreciate your time and your dedication to your classes of court. A couple of housekeeping reminders. As always, if you're a guest to the meeting, I would ask that you please email rsvp@georgiacourts.gov so we have a record for the minutes. Secondly, as you know, this meeting is being recorded, both audio and visual, to provide and live streamed, and it's open to the press and public. We always welcome those folks, and just bring that to your attention. During voting items, as we have done in the past, just to make things smoother, we will call for opposition only to action items. Most importantly, please mute your devices when not speaking so we don't have any background noise. We have one member unable to attend today and who is appointed a designee. That's Judge Maureen Gottfried from the 3rd Judicial Administrative District. Designee Chief Judge Art Smith, former president of the Council of Superior Court Judges from the Chattahoochee Judicial Circuit, is here. Welcome, Judge Smith. We're always glad to see you, and thank you for being with us today. A couple of special guests I want to recognize. First, Randall Weiland is the incoming District Court Administrator for my former judicial district. That's the 1st Judicial Administrative District. Welcome, Randall, and thank you especially to your successor, Richard Denny, who was very helpful to me during my career as a Superior Court judge, and who provided just tremendous service to the judges of the 1st Judicial Administrative District. I know you're going to do just as well, and I know that you'll get a lot of mentoring and help from Richard if you need it. So thank you, Richard, for all you've done. Please convey, Randall, my well wishes to Richard, and good luck as you take that new role. We have a couple of new members of the council. I need to administer the oath of office to them. If Judge Burt Guy and Judge Michelle Harrison, who is the new president-elect of the Council of Juvenile Court Judges as of November 1st, you are all, I need to administer the oath of office to both of you. If you will raise your right hand. And at the end of this, I'll just ask you to affirm. I do swear or affirm that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on me as a member of the Judicial Council of Georgia, according to the best of my ability and understanding. That as a member of the Judicial Council, I will endeavor to improve the administration of justice in this state for the benefit of the public as well as the bench and bar. That I will strive to improve the judicial system of this state as a whole, as well as in its parts, and that I will support the Constitution of the state of Georgia and the Constitution of the United States. So help me God. If you agree with that, please say I do.
I do.
I do.
Wonderful. Well, welcome both of you to the council. We look forward to continuing to work with you and your respective classes of court. Cynthia Clanton will do a roll call for folks that have not yet been accounted for on the Zoom roll. So Cynthia, I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chief. Vice Chief Trent Brown.
Present.
Judge Hamrick.
Present.
Great. Thank you, Judge. Chief Judge Letitia Deere Jackson. Chief Judge Ural Glanville. Chief Judge Thomas Wilson. Chief Judge Scott Smith.
Present.
Great. Judge Chris Hughes. Judge David Dickinson.
Present.
Judge Cheryl Jolly. Chief Judge Jeff Hansen.
I'm here.
Great. Judge Neil Brunt. Judge Scott Chastain.
Present.
Chief Judge Nathan Grantham. Chief, we do have a quorum and can move forward, and I'll continue to take roll as people join us.
Sounds great. Thank you. Thank you all for being here.
Mr. Chief, I apologize. This is Letitia Deere Jackson. I could not get off of mute fast enough, but I'm present, Director Clanton.
Wonderful, Tish. Thank you. And I'm glad things have improved at your courthouse since yesterday afternoon. So thank you all for being with us. Thank you for being on time. We appreciate your attendance at these meetings, and in the fashion that I've tried to establish from the onset. I'll try to get you in and out of here, but don't let me go so fast that you don't have an opportunity to ask questions or provide input, we certainly value your attendance and your consideration of all the matters that are today before the Judicial Council. You have in our agenda behind tab 1 the minutes of our August 16, 2024 general session, which we held in Atlanta. And I will assume you all have reviewed the minutes and will entertain a motion that they be approved unless there is or additions or corrections.
Move to approve.
A motion, is there a second?
Second.
Scott Smith, second. We've got a motion, a second. Any further discussion concerning the August 16 minutes? Is there any objection that they be approved as submitted? Hearing none, they are approved. So thank you very much for that. We move to item 5 in your agenda, which reflects special projects. I'll give you a brief update on a couple of matters. You have in your materials, and if you don't, we can get those to you, orders that have created a Supreme Court study committee on legal regulatory reform. In a nutshell, you know that I have been addressing for years the concept of and problems associated with legal deserts, concerns that our trial courts have with an increasing number of pro se litigants. We have a lot of nonprofits that provide services to civil litigants across the state, both Atlanta Legal Aid and Georgia Legal Services, but simply do not have the resources to provide services to everyone. And so I've asked Justice Carla McMillan to take a look at, and Judge Steve Dillard from the Court of Appeals, to form a committee to take a look at, are there barriers, regulatory barriers that are preventing us from being able to provide the full complement of judicial services to all citizens in Georgia, regardless of geographic proximity or indigency. And so I'm looking forward to the work of that committee. Understand that is not a Judicial Council committee, but rather is a Supreme Court committee. And that committee will include representatives and does include representatives from the State Bar of Georgia. And I thank Ivy Cadle, President of the State Bar, for his support of this initiative. And we'll take a look at whether we can come up with some recommendations from that committee that we look forward to in the very near future. So that is an update on regulatory reform. I also want to give you a brief update on the Behavioral Health Reform and Innovation Commission. As you all know, the Behavioral Health Reform and Innovation Commission, established by Governor Kemp a couple of years ago, was tasked with taking a look at remediating some of the issues that our justice system encounters with an increasing number of individuals with behavioral health issues. It affects all sectors of the judicial system, from law enforcement to courts to jails. It is an issue that is first and foremost and prominent among every state in the country as I speak to chief justices across the country about their initiatives. And we're all taking a fresh look at what can we do to remove some of the barriers and help these individuals who have for a long time found themselves in the criminal justice system or even with challenges in the civil justice system. And so I have asked Kathy Gosselin specifically to chair a committee of my committee. I chair the Mental Health Courts and Corrections Subcommittee. I've asked Judge Gosselin to chair a committee on familiar faces. So during the second year of the committee, we have focused on the challenge of addressing the needs of individuals who have repeated interactions with the behavioral health system, with homeless services, and the criminal justice system. Those individuals we refer to as familiar faces. To further address the needs of this population, I created this Forensic Competency Advisory Committee with the support of the Council of State Governments Justice Center. That committee requested environmental scans of alternatives to additional hospital-based assessments and restoration services in other states and jurisdictions. So we're looking at what's going on nationally. In addition, that committee requested a scan of other states' laws regarding the restoration of individuals charged with misdemeanors versus felonies. Recommendations were made for code adjustments to provide shorter restoration timelines for individuals charged with nonviolent misdemeanors and to establish a process by which the court would hold a hearing before initiating competency processes for individuals who are charged with nonviolent misdemeanors. Those recommendations were also made for a review of competency restoration practices for individuals with cognitive and developmental impairments, in 2025. And so this This issue is first and foremost an issue for law enforcement. It is also an issue for Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, as our courts across the state continue to deal with an increasing concerns around wait times for competency evaluations and the effect those wait times have on adjudicating cases. So I'm looking forward to the recommendations being presented in a report that should be available for public consumption by the end of this month, and ultimately making recommendations out of that report for the General Assembly to consider when they come back in session in January. So excited about the work that this court is leading on regulatory reform, the work that the governor and others are leading on behavioral health reform. And if you have any interest in those issues, please contact me, and I'm happy to engage you in any level you wish. With that, we're going to move. Are there any questions concerning any of that? Hearing none, I'm going to move to item 6 in your agenda. You'll find the materials behind tab 2 of your materials that were submitted to you. We start with committee reports, and the first is the Arpa Funding Committee. I'm going to give you a brief oral report. A written report and press release that was issued in November of last year is behind tab 2. And essentially, at our August meeting, you will recall that I reported that any potential new funding available for the fall 2024 application period was subject to the committee's action at its October 25th administrative meeting, consistent with our previously approved use of awards fund policy. The committee did recoup $2.65 million from several circuits with existing awards during what was a really cooperative process. I want to thank those circuits and their chief judges for working with the ARPA committee staff and the committee on assessing their current awards and projected spending and returning to the committee funds that they were not expected to spend. I'm grateful to report that the Governor's Office of Planning and Budget made an additional $9.6 million available for awards. That amount had previously been held for cost contingencies. Secondly, the committee accepted applications for calendar year 25 funding from August 30 through September 20th. Those applications included 15 circuits, 2 of whom applied for new awards, 10 applied for additional funds to amend their existing awards, and 3 applied to amend their existing awards but did not ask for new funds. Following discussions at the October 25th meeting, the committee approved and funded all applications for a total amount of $7,430,560 in new ARPA funding to help these courts alleviate their backlog of serious violent felony cases. As of that round of funding, 48 of Georgia's 51 judicial circuits, also now including the new West Georgia Judicial Circuit, which will be effective on January 1st of 2025, have received ARPA grants since the program began on January 1st of 2022. Previously, prior to this application period, the committee had awarded more than $75 million in funding to 39 judicial circuits for calendar year 23 through calendar year 25. And of course, subject to available funds, the program is planned to run through calendar year 26, at least through to the last quarter of calendar year 26. We intend to accept applications from circuits next during the April 25 open period. Details are going to be published on the ARPA website during the month of March. All circuits are encouraged to focus on spending their awards consistent with our use of spending policy that we've already passed. The next spending threshold for circuits that have applications per the use of awards fund policy is coming up on December 31st. So just make sure that you're spending those funds so we don't have to return them. The AOC ARPA fiscal team continues to work closely with the circuits on reimbursement processes. As of Friday, December the 6th, $15,572,000 was reimbursed for calendar year 22 expenses, which have been closed out. $39,917,000 has been reimbursed for calendar year 23 expenses. And so far in calendar year 24, $6,210,960 has been reimbursed. So as always, the AOC ARPA team has done a fabulous job. I thank Cynthia and her most capable team, Tracy Mason, and all of the folks that are working through the ARPA process for their fabulous work in trying to help our courts with these case backlogs. If you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to the ARPA team. But that's my report on ARPA funding and the materials as you will find them in tab 2. Are there any questions concerning the ARPA Funding Committee report? Hearing none, we move to item 6B, and I'll turn it over to Presiding Justice Nels Peterson for materials that are found at tab 3 for a report from the Legislation Committee.
Thank you, Chief. As he said, a written report is provided behind tab 3. The Legislation Committee met on November 20th to discuss legislative items for the 2025 session of the General Assembly. As a reminder, the committee makes recommendations in concept, not on exact language, because we all understand that the nature of the legislative process is fluid, and we will remain engaged with our partners and stakeholders throughout the legislative process. I have, let's see, 7 recommendations to make today, and so we'll take those one at a time. The first one is from the Judicial Council of Georgia, which is probably unnecessary to specify given that we don't vote on judicial councils of other states. Senate Bill 508, you will recall last year, was our initiative regarding personally identifiable information of judges. There is some cleanup of that is needed that we've kind of worked through as we've worked on implementation of the bill last year, working with our partners at ACCG, GMA, and in discussions with other states that we had patterned the legislation on. We are going to need to adjust precisely how the process works, and so we're going to need some legislation to adjust that. I am happy to answer any questions if anyone has any questions, but the motion from the committee is that the Standing Committee on Legislation recommends the Judicial Council support legislation to amend the processes outlined in Senate Bill 508 from 2024 to support its successful implementation.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Bobby Wolf has provided a second. Is there any further discussion on that action item? Is there any opposition? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Presiding Justice Peterson.
Next point is the Council of Municipal Court Judges proposed to create the Office of Senior Judge of Municipal Court. Judges would submit applications to and be appointed by the President of the Council of Municipal Court Judges, and Chief Judge David Will can provide whatever additional comment he would like to provide or answer any questions you may have.
Happy to answer any questions, Chief or PJ.
Are there any questions concerning the second action item from the Council of Municipal Court Judges? Hearing none, is there a motion that it be approved?
The motion is the Standing Committee on Legislation recommends the Judicial Council support legislation to create the Office of Senior Municipal Court Judge.
Wonderful. That's the motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any opposition? It likewise is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 3 is from the Council of Probate Court Judges. This is a relatively minor item, but it's a little complicated, so I'm going to take a second to explain. Regarding additional qualifications for Article 6 probate court judges, presently, an affidavit is required for candidates qualifying for the office of probate court judge, attesting that they meet the basic qualifications set out in 15.9.2 for all probate court judges. But 15.9.4 requires that probate court judges in counties with a population of 90,000 or more satisfy additional qualifications, but there's no separate affidavit to attest that a candidate satisfies those additional qualifications. And Judge Chris Baller, if you have anything else to add to that, this would be your opportunity.
No, I believe you got everything covered, but I'm happy to answer any questions if I can.
Any questions from membership? What is the motion?
The motion is the Standing Committee on Legislation recommends the Judicial Council support legislation to require a separate affidavit that addresses additional qualifications for probate court judges in counties with a population of 90,000 or more, as set in OCGA section 15-9-4.
So that would make the affidavits requirements consistent. Is there any addition? Well, let me take. Is there a second to the motion? Is there a second?
Second that.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Now, is there any further discussion? Is there any opposition? It likewise passes. Thank you. Item 4.
This is also from the Council of Probate Court Judges regarding electronic filing in probate court proceedings. This is proposed legislation to provide for e-filing in probate court proceedings. It will start out as optional with an intention to eventually transition to mandatory. The Council of Probate Court Judges proposed legislation that was passed last year to standardize and simplify the probate court fee schedule in anticipation of moving forward with e-filing during this upcoming session. So this really is a follow-on from that legislation that Judicial Council supported last year. And Judge Chris Ballard, you have anything you want to add to that?
Nothing to add, but I'm happy to answer questions.
All right, we've got a motion. What is that motion?
The motion, Chief, is the Standing Committee on Legislation recommends the Judicial Council support legislation to provide for e-filing in probate court proceedings.
That is the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a second. Is there any further discussion concerning the motion? Is there any opposition to accepting and approving the motion? Hearing none, it is passed. All right.
Item 5 is a joint proposal from the Council of Probate Court Judges and the Council of Magistrate Court Judges. And this proposed legislation would provide for nonpartisan elections for both probate and magistrate court judges. Although this is a joint effort between the two councils, it would be pursued as separate bills because the probate court judge's partisan status is at least partially determined by the Georgia Constitution. And so a constitutional amendment is likely necessary for the probate judges, but not for the magistrate court judges. Judge Chris Ballard and or Judge Bobby Wolf, anything y'all want to add to that?
I just want to thank probate for working so well with us, and I'm here for any questions.
Yeah, and I'll echo that as well. I think it's important legislation whose time has come.
Okay, what is the motion?
The motion is the Standing Committee on Legislation recommends the Judicial Council support legislative action to provide for the nonpartisan election of probate court and magistrate court judges.
Is there a second to the motion?
I second it.
All right, given the motion and the second, is there any further discussion concerning the action?
Mr. Chief Justice, I have a question, if I might.
Absolutely, Judge.
Some counties or municipalities have elected municipal court judges, Muskogee County being one of those, and he wears both hats as chief magistrate and municipal court judge and has to run in a partisan primary. Would this address municipal court judges who are also elected?
This proposal addresses only the offices of probate and magistrate court judge. And so someone who wears multiple hats, including a municipal court judge, whatever it is required for the process of becoming a municipal court judge would remain unaffected by this proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Justice, for that clarification.
Thank you, Judge. Other questions? Hearing none, is there any opposition to the motion as stated? Hearing none, it passes. And item 7.
Item 6 is
Six.
both statewide courts and the Council of Superior Court Judges compensation reform. This proposal is a continuation of last year's efforts for legislation to implement a new compensation structure for statewide and Superior Court judges based on the recommendations made by the Judicial Ad Hoc Committee on Salaries and Supplements in 23. And Vice Chief Judge Ann Harris, I don't know if you have anything you would like to speak to that.
No, we appreciate everyone's support last year. Would like to see it move to completion this year.
The one key difference, just so that everyone's aware, the one key difference between this proposal and last year is that the intention this year would be to have two separate bills, one for the statewide judges, one for the Superior Court judges, because the Superior Court piece is considerably more complex. Everyone is fully supportive of everyone else. This is not in any way a reflection of a desire to row in different directions. But two bills is just a simpler process than a single one.
And can you state the motion?
The motion is the Standing Committee on Legislation recommends the Judicial Council support legislation to implement the recommendations made in the final report of the Ad Hoc Committee on Judicial Salaries and Supplements in 2023, which was the Judicial Council official position last year.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second it.
There's plenty of seconds. We got a motion and a second, and now we will entertain discussion. Does anybody have any questions or discussion concerning that action item? Hearing none, is there any opposition? Hearing none, it passes. What is next?
The last one is from the Judicial Council of Georgia Standing Committee on Court Reporting Matters regarding digital takedown. This will take a little bit longer, and I do want to provide ample time for questions for folks who may have them. This item was originally on the agenda for the Judicial Council meeting in August, but we deferred it so we could continue discussions with stakeholders. There were a number of good questions that had come up, and we wanted to make sure that we took sufficient time to answer and provide details. This proposal comes from the Court Reporting Matters Committee, which is presently chaired by Judge Ben Land of the Court of Appeals. The proposal seeks to authorize judges to use a digital recording system for the takedown of certain court proceedings in lieu of takedown by a court reporter. It maintains the role of court reporter in transcribing proceedings. This concept does not mandate the use of digital recording. It simply gives judges an additional option to alleviate the challenges of limited court reporter resources. Rules will be promulgated for the operation and monitoring of these recording systems. If a judge elects to use such a system, the system would have to comply with and be operated in accordance with those rules. An initial draft of those rules has been shared with Superior and State Court judges, which are the two classes of courts that would be affected by this. Those of you who've been engaged with the Judicial Council for multiple years may recall that the Judicial Council has formally taken positions supporting similar legislation in years past. Both the draft and the intent of this proposal is much narrower than previous approaches that have been taken. I do want to ask Judge Land now to just provide some brief comments on really the process that he's engaged in since that August meeting to work with stakeholders and get questions answered.
Okay, thank you for that. Yes, we've been at work on this latest version for much of the last year. It was approved by our committee unanimously, was approved by the Legislation Committee. And in August, when we were going to present it to the full Judicial Council, we had some legitimate questions from some judges who wanted to know what the rules may end up looking like. We had a draft bill that was ready to go, and they wanted to know, well, if this gets approved, what might the rules look like? We have come up with an initial draft of what those rules may look like. We shared them with those judges that were interested in that issue. They're very short, they're very simple, they're very straightforward. I think I have addressed that. The set of rules we've come up with is a starting point for discussion. Because the ultimate final set of the rules, if this legislation is approved, will be up to either the full Judicial Council or the Uniform Rules Committee of the various classes of court. So I just want to emphasize that the rules are not at all final. The draft legislation is what I would seek approval of today, and the rules can be hashed out and finalized in the days, weeks, and months to come. But the concept is straightforward. I think the concept is desperately needed. And I've heard from judges all over the state the problems with the shortage of court reporters. This seeks to address that in one way. There are certainly other ways to address it that we may entertain later, but this would allow judges the option, not the mandate, to have testimony taken down in certain proceedings by digital recording systems, later transcribed by court reporters, as opposed to having to have a court reporter take down everything in all of the proceedings. So I think we have addressed the concerns that have been asked. I've met with state court judges. I've met with Superior Court judges. I've taken input from everybody who's interested in it. We've also met with court reporters, and I'd like to see this move forward. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Thank you both. Before we get to further discussion, let's see if we've got let's have the motion stated and see if we have a second to the motion, and then we'll move to discussion.
The motion, Chief, is the committee recommends that the Judicial Council support legislation to authorize digital takedown in courts and for the development of rules and regulations to govern such use.
Is there a motion to, or second to that motion?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Now further discussion or questions of the presiding justice or Judge Land?
And Chief, let's give it just a quick minute, since it may take a second for somebody with a question to unmute.
Sure.
I know there's a lot of new information we just provided.
Not in any hurry. Any questions? All right, I don't hear any questions. Is there any opposition to the motion as stated? No opposition, it passes. Anything further from the Legislation Committee, Justice Peters?
No further action items. As a reminder, the Judicial Council has authorized the Legislative Committee to act on its behalf during the legislative session, which begins in January. The committee will convene its regular weekly conference calls during the session to share information and updates. We continue to ask everyone to share information and legislative initiatives through the committee, even if they seem to only affect one class of court, so that we can speak with one voice and coordinate as a branch for the benefit of everyone. Please reach out to me or Tracy Mason with any questions, feedback, etc. And I just want to thank Tracy and Abigail for the great work that the AOC team has been doing to support the Legislative Committee, each of the classes of court, as we look towards the legislative session.
You all have done a great job. Let me echo the presiding justice's compliments to the team over at the AOC, and especially want to thank Judge Ben Land for his leadership. Judge Land, thank you for everything you've done to try to pull all of this together. Much needed initiative, and we're very appreciative for your efforts. Before I call on my colleague, Justice Pinson, to talk a bit about another committee, I realize I have missed item 3, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. And that's important, namely because I was told Scott Smith was going to sing it. So we'll give Judge Smith an opportunity to lead us all in the Pledge of Allegiance. Scott?
Yes, I told Cynthia I thought I'd miss my moment in the sun. I've been training for months for this. So if you would all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I spared you the song.
Thank you, Judge. That was fabulous. Knew you would do a good job. Sorry I missed you. Thank you for that. Next, moving to Justice Pinson, and we'll have a report on the Artificial Intelligence and the Courts Committee.
Thanks so much, Chief. As you know, the Chief Justice established earlier this year the Ad Hoc Committee on AI and the Courts. The goal of the committee is to assess the potential risks and benefits of AI, especially generative AI, and its use in courts and by courts. You're likely aware that this technology has taken the tech world by storm over the past year or so. Courts and the practice of law have been no exception. But rather than making kind of the ad hoc or knee-jerk decisions about how to address this very fast-moving technology, this committee has been tasked with making data-driven and evidence-based recommendations, both about the potential uses of AI to improve the administration of justice, potentially access to justice, but also how to preserve the public's trust and confidence in our institutions, and in particular in the judicial system. The Chief Justice asked me to serve as chair of the committee. I'm fortunate enough to have Judge Steve Kelly as my co-chair. And thanks to the help of many of you on this call, we've put together a strong committee of both judges from various classes of courts and stakeholders. We are also partnering with the National Committee of State Courts to bring in their expertise and knowledge in this area. A quick update on our work so far. We have started our work. We had an initial very much informational meeting led mostly by NCSC to get all of us up to speed on the technology and the potential challenges ahead of us. Yesterday, we had an organizational meeting. We have now established subcommittees, a timeline, and have done some initial scoping work to figure out just what work we have before us. Just to give you a sense of the focus of the committee, the three areas that we are focusing on, which is sort of distilled the 10 different sort of elements that the chief has asked us to look into. The first big bucket of things we've called AI in court proceedings. This subcommittee will assess the potential impact of current emerging AI technologies on court proceedings. The big focus, I think, of this subcommittee will be on the evidentiary issues that we all know are coming that AI could have an impact on, things like authentication, enhancement, alteration, or fabrication of images and recordings, data analysis, and potentially manipulation of data. The group's also going to explore potential risks that AI could pose to security, confidentiality of court data, and then likely the takeaway and recommendations of that group will have to do with the adequacy of current evidentiary rules, court rules, practices, and procedures, both to address these impacts and to propose potential changes. The second bucket, adoption and implementation of AI by courts. This subcommittee will focus on both the risks and potential benefits of adopting AI technologies in the judicial system, and the things that we need to be aware of before we take those sorts of steps. That may include looking at tools for litigants and practitioners like filing aids, tools for judges and court staff, and then the court will, this particular group will identify considerations for AI adoption, including making sure that we're sensitive to things like the confidentiality of court records, security risks, and introduction of things like bias. And then this group will also consider code of judicial conduct effects of sort of adopting or using or bringing in these technologies. The final subcommittee will focus on access to justice and community engagement. There's sort of a broad mandate here, but the takeaway for this one will be, one, exploring strategies to potentially leverage AI to improve access to justice. And then secondly, to consider how to develop and implement education and resources for the judicial system and our stakeholders so that we're informed about both the risks and benefits of AI. So that gives you a sense of the scope of our work, which is broad. The timeline for this effort, our work will continue largely in the subcommittees in earnest from now until June of next year, when we hope to have a report and recommendations to provide. And then finally, if you are interested in our work, if you're interested in whether it's sort of input, if you have questions, concerns, contributions to make, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, or you can reach out through Cynthia Clanton. We are always happy to have as much input as we can as we work forward in this, again, this fast-moving space. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Justice Pinson and Judge Kelly, for your work on what is not just a Georgia issue, but is frankly a worldwide issue. Every adjudicative body in the world is addressing AI and its impact and promise in their respective tribunals. So I know we're going to do a good job with that committee. I look forward to the report this next summer from that committee. Does anyone have any questions of Justice Pinson or I concerning that committee's work? All right. We've also established, I established a Judicial Security Committee. I've asked Justice LaGrua of our court to chair that committee, and she's present to give an oral report.
Good morning. Thank you, Chief. And I'm thrilled to be chairing this with my co-vice chair, Judge Brian Rickman of the Court of Appeals. We met about 6 weeks ago, the whole committee. We discussed the ongoing challenges to implement Senate Bill 508, which Justice Peterson addressed earlier in the meeting. The AOC is working closely on this, and we've talked with other states about their implementation. As the presiding justice said, we expect some small tweaks on this, but we'll keep everybody informed. It is not effective until July 1st of this year. We also discussed tracking state level judicial threats. We're working on effective ways to comprehensively and accurately capture that data. I would re-ask anybody with ideas or interest in that, as Judge Rickman and I and Stan Cooper have spoken to the different councils. Every time we speak, we hear about more threats that we have not heard about before that are not being conveyed. And the more we can do on tracking these, the better it will be for the future for legislation and other things. So I'm asking anybody that has any ideas. We hope to roll out right after the first of the year some formal procedures for capturing that data. In conjunction with the Georgia Public Safety Training Center, Chief Wigington there, Angela Beatty, we held a security symposium there in Forsyth on November 7th. It was well attended. It went over very well. Success. There was situational awareness training by Director Wigington, followed by courtroom scenarios actually played out in the courtroom for people to do, defensive driving, and the shooting simulator. We've been asked to do an expanded version of that training, which will be in April or May. Stay tuned for that specific date. Also, we are looking at doing a specific one for judges and their bailiffs or deputies, which will be targeted to just those two groups. Again, I want to thank Judge Rickman, Stan Cooper, Robbie Lee with the AOC, and the entire AOC for doing this. Chief, I think we're on the right track, and I think with our interaction with the feds on this, we're ahead of a lot of folks in this space.
Yeah, thank you, Justice LaGrua. Indeed, I think we are making significant progress under your leadership and the leadership of Judge Rickman and your committee. Judicial security remains a paramount concern across the country among the Conference of Chief Justices. You all know of how that threat correlates to impacting the rule of law, and how threats can further decrease public trust and confidence in our courts. So I'm really looking forward to the continued work of that committee, and I thank the members for all of their hard work thus far, and I think we're making significant progress. So thank you. Any questions of Justice LaGrua concerning her oral report? Hearing none, we'll move next to item E, which is a report from the Technology Committee, and that's either Justice LaGrua or Judge Kelly for an oral report.
With permission of the Chief, I would defer to Judge Kelly.
Sounds fine. Steve?
Chief Justice, thank you. Good morning. The Technology Committee met on November the 21st. We had a great meeting. We had reports. There's so much going on in technology, as we already seen, and still have another report coming on that we took reports from about 6 different committees, subcommittees, and ancillary committees of what's going on. Had a great meeting in that regard. We heard from Judge Land again on the court reporting matter, and we're fleshing a lot of good questions were asked in that matter, and that was good. We had, I wanted just we're under tab 4. So if you want to go and listen to get a quick update of what's going on in technology, I'll just refer back to my report there. I do want to highlight everyone. They really need to take a look at the, the website or the portal for the AOC. It's really top of the line now. And also want to put a plug in for our VCC program that the AOC has developed, the virtual calendar courts program. And if you're interested in that, just contact Ben Luke. Also went to eCourts and put on by National Center for State Courts, that I can tell you, Judicial Council, that probably 90% of the programs all had to deal with AI. very fascinating. Brought back a lot of stuff from vendors and share with all our different committees and subcommittees. So I'm looking forward to that. That's my report, Mr. Chief Justice.
Well, thank you, Judge Kelly. Appreciate that. Are there questions of Judge Kelly concerning the work in the report of the Technology Committee? Again, you have those materials at tab 4. We move to item F, which is a report from Judge Leonard on the Georgia Case Management System Committee. First, before he reports, I want to thank the governor for fully supporting this initiative. And I turn it over to Judge Leonard for an oral report and status update.
All right. Thank you, Chief. The ad hoc committee on the Georgia Case Management System has met twice already. We met on November the 14th and the 21st to go over technical and functional requirements to go in the RFP and trying to make, feature suggestions to try to work into contract negotiations with the vendors. Project is on track. We believe that the contract will be awarded before the end of the year. And the committee is also in the process of recommending court professionals, and other justice system partners to be involved in the developmental phase, which will begin in January. A number of milestones have been reached, including the stakeholder survey, white papers from vendors. I'm not going to hit everything on there because it'll take a while. There's been a lot going on the procurement side of this deal, and so we've had a group of people that are involved in getting the presentations from all of the vendors. All of that stuff is basically wrapped up, and they'll be doing their final ratings. And I expect that we'll be hearing some information pretty soon. And over the course of the next week or so, there will be some negotiations going on with whoever that top vendor is. I do not know who it is, so don't ask me. But we do, like I said, expect that contract to be awarded no later than the end of the year. So a lot going on there. And if you got any questions, I'm happy to take them. And also Ben Luke is available to fill in, and Sean as well. If there's any holes there, anybody's got any questions on anything from them.
Thank you, Judge Leonard. Thank you, Ben Luke, and the AOC team that is heading up this initiative. I think all judicial system stakeholders realize the value of improved judicial system data, more timely data, more accurate data, but also it's a public safety issue. And it also helps guide better public policy around the judicial branch. So are there any questions of Judge Leonard concerning this committee and their report? All right, hearing none, we stay with Judge Leonard for a report from the Judicial Workload Assessment Committee with materials at tab 5.
Sure. There's a written report there at tab 5. It's the slow time of the year for JWAC. Mercifully, we got the report on the circuits that are on the 0.80 list. Nobody has been on there for 3 years, so no real issues there. Staff will remain available to help any of those circuits that may need help clearing up any issues with their data. We got a new judicial circuit boundary map finished that's been out and disseminated. You can also probably find that on the website. We got an updated the caseload dashboards, so they look good. Like Judge Kelly said, you can go over there on the Judicial Council AOC website, and you can get to that and navigate if you want to dig into any of the data. The caseload reporting period opens the first of the year on January 2nd or 3rd, and then closes up in March, like around March 17th. So the portal will be open January 2nd is what I believe it opens. So all the chief judges on the call, make sure that you and your court clerks are getting ready to do your reporting. So that concludes my report, Chief.
Are there any questions concerning the report from the Judicial Workload Assessment Committee? Thank you, Judge Leonard, for your report and for your leadership on that committee. I don't see any questions. We move to item H, and that is a report from the Court Reporting Matters Committee. Materials found at tab 6, and I refer to Judge Lamb.
Yes, thank you, Chief. We have the responsibility on the Court Reporting Matters Committee to recommend folks for appointment to the Board of Court Reporting, and we have 4 that we're recommending at this time. 2 are reappointments, and 2 are new appointments to replace folks that are going off of the Board of Court Reporting. First, for the reappointments, Deborah Nagy, a court reporter in Valdosta in the Southern Judicial Circuit for Greg Voiles, has been a court reporter for over 40 years. She is currently on the Board of Court Reporting and has expressed interest in reappointment. Our committee has approved the recommendation to the Judicial Council to approve her appointment to the board. Jennifer Pope is a longtime court reporter, a former president of the Georgia Court Reporting Association. She has served on the Board of Court Reporting and still does, and would like to be reappointed, and our committee is recommending her reappointment. We have a member of the judiciary and a representative of the state bar to recommend to you. Judge Kimberly Childs from Cobb County, and Superior Court Judge is our recommendation to replace Judge Brenda Trammell, who is rolling off of the Board of Court Reporting. And Tom Herman from Macon is our recommendation to replace Hal Daniel on the Board of Court Reporting. Hal is also going to be departing the board. So our recommendation is that those 4 appointments be approved: Deborah Nagy, Jennifer Pope, Kimberly Childs, and Tom Herman.
Comes in the form of a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second by Judge Jolly. Is there any further discussion concerning the report from Judge Land and the motion? Hearing none. Is there any opposition? Hearing none. They are reappointed. Thank you, Judge Land. Is there anything else?
That's it from our committee. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for that report. Next, on item I on your agenda at tab 7, you have a written report from Justice Bethel, who chairs the Standing Committee on Budget. So there is no report other than what you'll find at tab 7 in writing, outlining the update on the Judicial Council's fiscal year 25 budget and amended fiscal year 25 budget and fiscal year 26 enhancement request. I next move to item 7 on the agenda, proposed updates for the Georgia Certified Process Servers Rules and Regulations. And I defer to Ms. Carrie Scott at the AOC to present that in the form of a motion.
So we have received questions about the requirements for criminal background checks for certified process servers. I think the motion is to accept these changes. In short, they remove some of the exclusions that prevent folks from becoming certified process servers under OCGA 911-4.1. So this does not affect folks who are certified as process servers or especially appointed as process servers by judges. It doesn't affect sheriffs or their deputies. It's only the folks who become certified under the process laid out in 9-11-4.1. The Georgia requirements for this, background check are stricter than just about any state in the country, if not the strictest. A couple of those requirements are statutory, but there are several requirements in the rules themselves, which the statute authorizes the Judicial Council to promulgate. Specifically, the change is to remove the prohibition on folks who have gotten DUIs or other serious traffic offenses, and for folks who have pending charges who have not been convicted yet. Those are the biggest changes. And so, folks would still be prevented from being certified process servers if they have a felony or a misdemeanor domestic violence conviction or a misdemeanor crime of moral turpitude conviction, or impersonating a peace officer or other public employee. So that's the change. If somebody is convicted after becoming a certified process server, they would immediately be suspended. They have an obligation under the rules to notify the sheriffs and the Georgia Sheriff's Association within 3 days. So that is the change. And I'm happy to answer any questions that y'all might have.
Okay. I would note for the benefit of the committee that all of the materials, including a memo outlining the stated purposes for the change to bring updates to the certified process server statute would bring Georgia in line with most other states by removing some elements of disqualification from the list that do not mirror up with what other states do and are impediments. Also remind everyone, not only are those materials there, the statutes there, and the rules from the Judicial Council on certified process servers are included in your materials. And happy to answer any questions. This is an action item. It comes in the form of a motion. And the motion is that we adopt the proposed changes to the Judicial Council updates to the rules for certified civil process servers pursuant to 911 4.1. We'll take questions, but let's see if there's a second to that motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion concerning the materials and the motion? Is there any opposition? They are approved. Thank you, Carrie, for the presentation. And we're going to take a quick break. We'll give you all about 5 minutes, and then we're going to come back and finish up with starting with a report from Ms. Clanton from the AOC. All right, Ms. Clanton, when we can see that we've got everybody back, we'll get back on our agenda.
Great. Thank you, Chief. Justices, judges, and judicial branch leaders. Good morning and happy holidays. Since we last met in August, hurricane season has come to a close, but not before causing loss of life and extensive damage, especially in the Arpa, Brunswick, Waycross, and Augusta judicial circuits. Pictured here is the Atkinson County Courthouse, which was greatly damaged and even lost its spire during Hurricane Helene. As 2024 comes to a close, we look forward to much calmer weather in the new year and to continuing to serve the Georgia Judicial Branch in 2025. It's time to put the finishing touches on our annual report. An outline draft is ready for your review and feedback before the legislative session. Electronic copy will be sent to all Judicial Council members following this meeting. Please let us know any edits by Friday, December 20th. We've updated the judicial boundaries map in light of the changes that become effective on January 1st. The updated map includes the creation of the West Georgia Judicial Circuit, renaming the Stone Mountain Judicial Circuit as the DeKalb Judicial Circuit, Banks County transitioning from the Piedmont Judicial Circuit to the Mountain Judicial Circuit, and the 9th Judicial Administrative District, now including Banks County. Maps are going to be located on the AOC's website for download. As you heard, the newly created Judicial Council Ad Hoc Committee on AI, chaired by Justice Penson, held its inaugural meeting on October 23rd and discussed challenges, opportunities associated with generative AI. Thank you to Chief Justice Boggs for his national leadership in this area. Congratulations to Judge Vi Bennett, who was recently sworn in as the chair of the Board of Court Reporting. Judge Bennett follows the outstanding leadership of Chief Superior Court Judge Brenda Trammell as chair. At its annual statewide conference this fall, the Georgia Commission on Family Violence honored the Judicial Council AOC with an award for its support of the commission for over 20 years. Through a grant, we provide judicial scholarships to attend this annual conference, which significantly boosts the commission's efforts to encourage more judges to prioritize domestic violence and sexual assault training. In addition, the Judicial Council's Committee on Grants oversees a $2.9 million state appropriation to provide grants to nonprofits for civil legal services to low-income victims of domestic violence. The Council of Municipal Court Judges has published the 6th edition of the Municipal Bench Book, an indispensable guide for Georgia's municipal court judges, clerks, and staff. This edition honors the legacy of Judge Glenn Ashman, the Bench Book's original author. Parag Shah, a former Atlanta Municipal Court judge, edited this edition. Kudos to the Council of Accountability Court Judges, which hosted a very successful annual conference in September. Thank you for inviting the AOC staff to join you. Congratulations to the Georgia Council on Court Administrators, which held an information-packed conference and elected new officers, including our own Christy Hope from our AOC IT division, who will serve as Vice President. Congratulations, Christy. The Office of Dispute Resolution co-hosted the ADR Institute with the State Bar of Georgia on November 1st. Supreme Court Justice Ellington and Chief Superior Court Judge Cindy Morris gave opening remarks. During the Institute, AOC Staff Attorney Carol Griffith spoke about ethics issues, and our child support team presented recent statutory changes. In October, we recognized Hispanic Heritage Month with a collage honoring our Georgia judges of Hispanic descent. We also did a feature in the Georgia Courts Journal on Lynette Jimenez, who serves as Senior Staff Attorney for the Georgia Statewide Business Court. What a super talented lawyer. Our hearty congratulations to Business Court Judge Bill Hamrick, who celebrated 25 years of service to the state of Georgia. And I think he even got a lapel pin. We love hearing your stories and receiving pictures from your community engagement efforts. Pictured here is Judge Gil McBride, who returned to speak with students at his alma mater, Winton Academy in Columbus. During his presentation, Judge McBride used brochures the AOC produces about Georgia's courts to guide and spark discussion. Please reach out to me or any of us if you'd like some of those brochures too. They're really great. Congratulations to DeKalb County Chief Magistrate Beryl Anderson, who was recently invited to serve as faculty for the prestigious National Judicial College at a course on mindfulness for judges. That 4-day course was attended by judges from 18 states, including Georgia. The AOC continues to work to foster community engagement, especially with Georgia students. For Constitution Day, we organized a panel discussion featuring Justice Verda Colvin and Justice Charlie Bethel, who addressed students from the Barrow Arts and Science Academy. Throughout November, we recognized National Veterans and Military Families. In partnership with the Council of Accountability Court Judges, we collected inspiring stories from our Georgia judges who preside over veterans treatment courts to produce a social media series. We've added to our Meet the Members of the Judicial Council videos. We have new videos featuring Superior Court Judge Burt Guy and also featuring Chief State Court Judge Gregory Sapp, pictured here. It's always wonderful to hear from the people we serve. DeKalb Superior Court Judge Nora Polk spoke at our all-staff meeting in October. Court of Appeals Judge Ben Land joined us in November, and State Court Judge Jeff Hansen wrapped up our year yesterday with his rousing remarks and very festive jacket. Of course, my report would not be complete without our judicial branch babies. And it's interesting because we appear to be in the midst of a boy baby boom, which is great because we've got lots of future UGA football players. We've got Tattnall County State Court Judge Hugh McCullis' grandson, Maddox. Next up, we've got Sergeant Dexter Hardin's grandson. And here is Baldwin County Senior State Court Judge Alan Thrower's grandson, Jamie. And just in yesterday, Judge Scott Chastain's grandson, Coy. He is so little. And Justice LaGrua, just for you, finally we have little Rue, TJ Bement's service dog in training. Part Australian Shepherd, part Jack Russell, 100% cute. The AOC is a service agency for Georgia's judges and a statewide resource. We exist to serve you, the members of the Judicial Council, and our partners. Please call on me or any of our staff anytime to support the important work you do. Have a wonderful holiday, and we look forward to serving you next year. Ho, ho, ho.
Thank you, Ms. Clanton. As always, a great report, great photos. Appreciate the interaction and involvement of all of our judges on matters that are important to the AOC and to the judicial branch. I next go to item 9 in our agenda, which is the reports from courts, councils, and state bar. You'll find all of these written reports behind tab 10 in your materials. We begin with my written report, and I rely on that written report, and we'll move on to the Court of Appeals, Chief Judge Amanda Mercier.
We will also rely on our written report. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Judge. Statewide Business Court Judge Bill Hamrick.
We will rely on our written report. Thank you.
Thank you. Council of Superior Court Judges, Judge Harris or Judge Guy?
Yeah, this is Bert. We will rely on our written report.
Thank you, Judge. Council of State Court Judges, Chief Judge Jeff Hansen.
We'll rely on a report, but I'd like to add a couple of expressions of appreciation. First to Judge Harris on the Superior Court Council for being receptive to our input related to the judicial compensation. We appreciate her taking our calls and helping us have a say in that. And also to the AOC generally. I spoke to their group yesterday, and it's just amazing to me to see how many people they have and how much they do, not just the ones that we see at the Judicial Council, but all the other people that are on their staff. Thank you for all that you do. And then finally, I can't ever not say thank you to Bob Ray for another great year of his service as the one-man show for state court. Thank you.
Judge, thank you. And nice jacket yesterday. I'm surprised you're not wearing it today. But thank you for speaking to the group yesterday. We appreciate all you do for the state court judge. Council, juvenile court judges has a written report. Is there anybody here from the council?
Yes, Chief. This is Neil Bryant from Bartow County. We will stand on the written report. Thank you.
Welcome, Judge. Thank you. Council of Probate Court Judges, Judge Chris Bowler.
Yeah, the council wants to express its appreciation to this body for the support of our legislative actions that are coming up this year. Otherwise, we stand on our report. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Bowler. We appreciate you. Council of Magistrate Court Judges, Judge Wolf.
Yes, thank you. We rely on the written report. I do want to thank and acknowledge Judge Michael Barker for a moment. He's about to retire. He's a past president of our council and judicial council member. He's the epitome of everything that we're trying to do. And I just want to acknowledge him. If you're in Savannah, December 19th next week at the Chatham County Courthouse from 2 to 4, they're going to have a celebration for him. But again, thanks to Judge Barker.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Judge Wolf. We appreciate Judge Barker as well. Council of Municipal Court Judges, Chief Judge David Will.
Good morning, Chief. We're going to stand on a written report. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Will. Is Ivy Cadle here from the State Bar?
I am, Chief.
Well, good morning. Do you have a report?
Good morning. We did submit a written report that we will largely rely upon. I would remind everyone of our mid-year meeting that begins on the 10th of January. It will be in Savannah, Georgia at the JW Marriott. We would love to have any of you who can attend join us. I'd also like to thank the Chief for the opportunities to partner with him on artificial intelligence and the new study committee on legal regulatory reform. These committees are up and running, and we're grateful for the opportunity to have input there.
Well, thank you, Mr. Cadle. Ivy, we really appreciate your leadership of the bar. You're doing a fabulous job. We also appreciate your partnering with us on the initiatives where we've asked you to assist. Thank you for your leadership and appreciate the report. We next move to item 10 in our agenda with materials found at tab 11, and that is the reports from additional judicial branch agencies. And I first refer to the Council of Accountability Court Judges and Taylor Jones.
Well, good morning. We will stand on our written report, but we'll add that 2025 marks 10 years since the inception of CACJ, and we're looking forward to celebrating this important milestone and the work of accountability courts throughout 2025. Thank you, Chief Justice, and happy holidays to all.
Thank you, Taylor. We appreciate the work of our accountability court judges and the good work you're doing for the people you serve. Item B, Georgia Commission on Dispute Resolution, Chief Judge Cindy Morris or Tracy Johnson. I'm not sure which.
This is Cindy Morris, and we would rely on our written report. But Chief Justice Boggs, I do have to add that we had our December meeting at Mercer Law School. President Underwood and Dean Sneddon from the law school were there with us and welcomed us. And I could never miss a chance to say, go Bears.
Thanks, Cindy. I appreciate that. Next, Council of Superior Court Clerks, President Grant Walraven or Evan Gross.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Justice. This is Executive Director Evan Gross. Nothing new to report. I appreciate it.
Thank you for that. Next, the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism. I know Ms. Greer is involved in a online CLE and notified me of that. She has provided a written report. If there are no questions concerning the written report, we always appreciate the leadership of Ms. Greer and the work of the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism. We next move to item E, which is the Georgia Council on Court Administrators, Timothy Ezell.
Good morning, Chief Justice. We will stand on our written report. We would also like to add that we had a great conference in Savannah where we focused on workforce development and leadership, and looking forward to our upcoming conferences next year as well.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate all you're doing. Next, Institute of Continuing Judicial Education.
Lynn is watching online. She's going to stand on her report, Chief.
Sounds fine. You all have her report in your materials. Next, I refer to Courtney Beal from the Judicial Qualifications Commission. Good morning, Courtney.
Good morning, Chief Justice. We don't have anything new to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Georgia Association of Juvenile Court Clerks, Samantha Cannon. You all have a written report. I'm confident that she would stand on that written report.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Next, is there any old business? Is there any new business? Presiding
I
Justice.
have one item of new business, Chief. You know, as you all know, it is the season for gift giving. And those of you who work with the Chief Justice on anything regarding administrative matters know that no matter what the topic of the meeting is, at some point during that meeting, he is going to ask you for data. And sometimes that comes as a little bit of a surprise. Now, less often as we progress, but and this would be considerably more entertaining if we were all in person. But Chief, for this holiday season, I've gotten you a, let's see here, is this mirrored? This is a mug to put people on notice that what it is you're going to be looking for. And what this says is, without data, you're just another person with an opinion. And so you will receive that in person next week, and maybe just carry it around with you during meetings to make sure people are on notice.
Yeah, that'll save my speaking and continue referring to my increased reliance on evidence and data-driven models. Well, thank you for that. I would not have called on you had I known you were doing that. So thank you for hiding it from me. Thank you for that. Is there any other new business that doesn't involve me, please? No other new business. So as I wrap up the meeting, let me reiterate what we say routinely through these meetings, and you all do a good job of this as well, and that is thanking Cynthia and her team for all of the support services that the AOC provides to our various classes of courts and judicial system stakeholders. Let me say genuinely how much I appreciate each of you, your ability to work across the aisle with other classes of courts and with this court. We appreciate the Court of Appeals and their partnership with us on initiatives. They have membership on many of the committees I've created. We really have an opportunity, I think, as a class, as judges in Georgia, 1,600 or so of us, and judicial system partners, to make a difference in the lives of the people that we serve. These sorts of meetings remind me regularly how much we are doing for the citizens of Georgia, the citizens that we've been elected to represent. And as we go through the Thanksgiving season and now Christmas is upon us, I hope, like me, that you all will be reminded about how thankful we should be for the blessings that we all have. We have good partners, we have good leadership, and we have you all, great partners in the efforts that we make to try to make a difference for those we serve. So across the classes of court, across the system partners, thank you all for what you do for the judicial branch in Georgia. I do talk a lot about data. I appreciate the presiding justice's nice gift. I don't do that for any reason other than we do have opportunities to make a difference. And we used to measure making a difference by dropping a bill and passing it, or we used to make a difference by having a study committee research something. Implementation is hard, and the things that we're trying to do that actually move a needle is much harder than just passing a bill. And so as we think about making a difference, let's also think about how important good data, verifiable, actionable data, timely data is, and how it will help move a needle for our constituents. I'm proud to serve on the court. I'm proud to serve all of you all as chair of the Judicial Council. hope you all have a great holiday season and a safe holiday season and a healthy holiday season. I remind you all that our next meeting is Friday, February 7th. It will be a Zoom only meeting. The rest of our calendar year 25 meeting schedule has been presented to you, but I'll let you know right now that it is after that February 7th meeting. We have a meeting on April the 11th, which is at the Nathan Deal Judicial Center. The next one is August the 15th at the Nathan Deal Judicial Center. And then our December meeting, like this one next year in December, will be December the 12th, and it will be by Zoom. I want everyone to have a great and thankful holiday season. We're all really blessed. I hope you all know that. I'm blessed to be able to serve with all of you all. And so with that, is there anyone else that has anything they'd like to add? Well, thank you all. Have a great weekend and a great holiday.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judicial Council.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.